So, who is the most ruthless and clinical finisher in the world at the moment? Clearly, it is a question that this channel takes seriously, as we have meticulously evaluated the data, watched the film, and ultimately reached a conclusion. The striker's position stands a cut above the rest, as one of the unique roles that has the ability to make the biggest impact over the course of 90 minutes. An optimally placed striker, in the right system, has the potential to exert his will on a match, and single-handedly make the difference. Now is a unique time in the beautiful game, as we stand at the precipice of a new era. With the likes of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo no longer participating at the highest level, new contenders have emerged within the recent years, establishing a new standard for finishing. Despite the fact that modern strikers are no longer the sole reference point for attacking movements, managers are devising new schemes for higher attacking outputs, and more collective goals. An example of this would be accumulated goal tallies. In 2022-2023, Napoli, the champions of Serie A, tallied 77 goals over 38 matches, finishing in 6th place for all Big Five European teams combined. This season, a tally of 77 goals would barely crack the top 10. Such is the state of today's game, which incorporates team-focused, total, attacking football. However, the striker is never forgotten, and this state provides the ideal conditions for a new breed of finishers to flourish. 11 vs 11 acknowledges 6 strikers in their cases to be recognized as the most lethal finishers in today's game. However, there is one striker who has reigned supreme. Kylian Mbappé tops our list, due to the fact that he can technically be placed within any post on the attacking line, and still contribute a great deal of goals and offense. However, he operates the most proficiently along the left inner flank channel, or left attacking half space, as a right-footed finisher. It must be mentioned that from a young age, Mbappé demonstrated the ability to finish on either flank, making him a viable threat on either the left or right wing. There is a common misconception that Mbappé is not as effective playing through the center. Yet, as you will soon find out, Kylian Mbappé can operate effectively as a center forward, provided that the right tactical adjustments are made. This tactical documentary takes a complete look at Mbappé's final season for Les Parisiens, while evaluating manager Luis Enrique's attacking intent, for a complete understanding. PSG generated 81 goals in Ligue 1, with Mbappé contributing 33% of PSG's goals, as the team's leading goal scorer. Spaniard Luis Enrique was tasked with optimizing Mbappé's output, by placing him in the most optimal positions within the build-up and finishing phases. To achieve this, Enrique played the 4-3-3 system, fielding a left and right winger, a traditional striker, 3 central midfielders, including a pivot in an inverted triangle, and a 4-man defensive line. From the beginning of the season, it became apparent that Enrique's vision of Paris Saint-Germain would retain his foundational Spanish-style tactical philosophies, such as possession-based football through proximity attacking, rapid ball movement with short-range passing, while strictly adhering to the formation and positional play, and numerical advantages. As a Barcelona legend, it is clear that sticking to Cruyffian philosophies have influenced the way in which the Champions League winning manager sees the game. Enrique seeks to play beautiful attacking football, with a constant attacking outlook. Playing Mbappé in a style that was too direct, with constant long balls would be too predictable, and the antithesis of Enrique's attacking philosophy. PSG's attacking movements were conducted slowly, patiently and methodically, a clear contrast to the quick, open and rapid transitional system in which Mbappé operated in last year, under Christophe Galtier. The PSG of 2023-2024 played a predominantly elaborate build-up style, meaning that their build-up play involved a high number of passes, and intricate on and off the ball movement. The Parisian side completed the most passes in Ligue 1 by a country mile, a margin of 5,258 over their nearest opponent, while maintaining the highest pass completion percentage. Such figures are a reflection of Enrique's acumen for organizing his players on the pitch. In order to understand PSG's exceptional passing statistics, it is primary to understand how Enrique aligns his men in the build-up phase. Similar to most of the world's elite football clubs, PSG is a possession-dominant side, boasting the second highest possession stats for all Big Five European leagues combined. Les Rouges et Bleus completely dominated possession in Ligue 1, maintaining an average of 823 touches per match. Such a system requires strict adherence to tactically disciplined, team-oriented attacking, with positional awareness across the pitch. It must be noted how PSG utilized their possession, distributing their touches evenly between their defensive third and the oppositional attacking third, while dominating touches in neutral space. PSG maintained a nearly balanced distribution of touches between the defensive and attacking thirds. In doing so, the Spanish manager extended the pitch vertically, while taking an exceptional risk to effectively build up play. The risk involved the threat of the opposition playing an aggressive, high block, and dispossessing the ball carrier near their own goal. However, against a team like PSG, which fields technical, ball-playing center-backs, aggressive pressing also runs several risks, as they apply one of three methods to regain the ball. They can apply a high, deep block with the forward line, limiting central, vertical routes to advance the ball. They can apply an aggressive, high-intensity press, opting to vacate space, in order to ensure that the center-backs and supporting players are under duress to force errors. They can sit in the high-middle block, applying zonal or man marking on the advanced players, while allowing the backline time on the ball to assess their options. Enrique's intention was to get the opposition to take the bait, and advance toward the ball like a moth to flame. In doing so, they would leave free space behind them to exploit, thereby increasing the stakes for either side. In order to achieve this, PSG had to maintain ideal shapes at all times. This involved alternating between the inverted triangle and the rhomboid in build-up play, alternating between 1 and 2 midfielders to connect the tiers. Enrique would normally build up play with a back three, with one of the fullbacks advancing into the second tier. Enrique's use of the inverted triangle in the midfield maintained a constant reference point between the back three and the advanced midfielders. Enrique's PSG utilized triangular congregations as much as possible, varying from conventional to inverted, depending on the scenario. This ensured the central midfielders' roles were constantly shifting. When the single pivot was played, the central midfielders each acted as metsalas, or interior midfielders. Their metsala roles were dynamic, as they would frequently advance into the attacking line, as the fourth man, while the other would locate pockets within the midfield to link the advance. When the double pivot was played, the third midfielder would advance, as the metsala, or as the fourth man in the attacking line. The interior operators provided reference points to the single or double pivot midfield, providing two passing options to the pivot, regardless of if he received the ball towards his own goal, or the opposition's. However, this was not always the case, and PSG would adjust their alignment depending on how the opposition initiated the press. For example, when the press was only initiated by one attacker, PSG only needed to maintain two at the back for the numerical advantage, with the pivot as the reference point. The objective was to maintain numerical superiority, in order to hold the center of the pitch, and since PSG built up play from so deep in their own half, they rarely encountered heavy pressure. The primary shapes emphasized numerical superiority, as the opposition would normally press with 1 to 3 men at most, while leaving 9 to 7 men to guard neutral space and beyond. Thus, PSG retained the ball in a highly dynamic style, with constant progressive options. Paris Saint-Germain's deep pockets provides them with some of the best attacking assets in the world, and Enrique was spoiled for choice. With the likes of Bradley Barcola, Ousmane Dembélé, and Kylian Mbappé, Enrique opted to play a spread attacking line, with traditional, Dutch style, chalk on the boots, touchline hugging wingers for long phases of build-up play. Enrique's system required exceptional technical dribblers, who could dribble, at speed, on a tightrope, while taking on 1 to 3 markers at a time, in airtight spaces. By playing this style, Enrique commenced attacking build-up plays from the most lateral points of the pitch, from the touchline, to the half spaces. In doing so, the pitch was extended laterally as well, maximizing the battle space. Working his wingers along the flanks allowed Enrique to apply his speed advantages, as the quick interplay made it extremely difficult for defenders to maintain a frame of reference. With constant overloads in the spaces between the lines, Enrique's system was ensured of line-breaking options, for constant progressions and positive yards. Of all Big Five European leagues, PSG were the 9th most progressive team. With one of the full-backs advancing and aligning with the pivot, the Metsalas were then liberated to push further up, just behind the attacking line, forming the 3-2-2-3, or the iconic WM formation. The 3-2-2-3 maintained double pivots, concentrating his men centrally, while ensuring that the diagonal was available to the wingers, or the Metsalas, who would expand if the opposition did not take the bait. For Enrique, Mbappé occupied 3 primary positions on the attacking line. In the high wide left winger position, in which he was isolated in space. As an inverted winger, rotating into the half-space lane. In the center forward position, which was adapted as a false 9. PSG also attempted the most carries of any club in Europe's Big Five leagues, while also tallying the highest total distribution. Due to PSG's expansive style of play, the opposition would frequently alter between expansive or compact defending, to compensate for a lack of pressing. The expansive defensive adaptation opened attacking lanes and routes, which are ideal conditions for ball-carrying players, and precision passers. This is why a spread formation is most conducive to beating the intense press and resulting counter-attack. All 3 attackers provide a progressive and direct option while expanding the space in the medium block. With this in mind, oppositional defenses will always press with caution, opting for a more static, compact block. Danilo Pereira, Achraf Hakimi, Vitinha, and Marquinhos all led the team in carries, as they were heavily involved in both build-up play and control of the midfield. The attackers could also expect to be dispatched through direct play, activating them along vertical channels. However, this was only applied when it was the most advantageous. Normally, the play would be initiated from a member of the back line, who would look to bypass the block with a long ball, when the space was available, while having a full view of the pitch. PSG's additions of Goncalo Ramos and Randal Kolo Muani provided Enrique's system with traditional center forwards. However, Enrique had his front men play with their backs to goal, as false 9s. As the center forwards dropped into central spaces, Mbappé would frequently rotate into the center forward role, or slot into the inside left position. In doing so, he would be replaced either by a central midfielder, or the left fullback to maintain width on either side. As mentioned prior, progressive reference points were essential to Enrique's system, and maintaining 2 points of reference to the ball carrier allowed for the defensive line to be further manipulated. When applied properly, PSG's attacking variations left the opposition in constant confusion and limbo. For example, initiating a press on the ball carrier ensured that more space was available for dangerous interior players to drop into, in order to sustain the attack, with line-breaking movement. Remaining static, while limiting the space between the lines allowed time on the ball to the ball carrier, as the oppositional backline gained proximity to their goal in order to prepare for a direct delivery into space. To make matters worse, the pitch was expanded and extended with the threat of high and wide attackers, which spread the defensive line thin, in order to contain them. As a result, the sheer numbers and multiple threats pushed the defensive line back, advancing the ball and the team up the pitch toward the oppositional goal by virtue of the possibilities. The way in which the ball is advanced also reveals a manager's attacking intent. As PSG were a possession-based team that prioritized shape retention in the build-up phase, decisions were constantly being made by players on how to advance the ball. For example, when the ball was advanced to the high wide winger, the ball advanced via A longer, riskier diagonal long ball, from the exterior center back to the winger. A shorter pass, which required the winger to gain proximity, with his back turned to goal, or at a sideways orientation. The backline player carrying the ball into the space himself, initiating multiple players to offer to receive. Each method of distribution presents inherent risks. Due to the spacing between the back and front lines, and the fact that Enrique liked to play as central midfielders within the interior, to force central compactness from the opposition. When one considers how high up the pitch, and how particularly PSG aligned, a bad diagonal pass to the open side, or a dispossessed ball carrier, could have very costly results. To mitigate these risks, Enrique altered the placement of his attacking line, allowing rotations for decoy movements and attacking fluidity. Any member of the front line could drop off when offering to receive. Not only did this leave the back line in a constant state of anticipation, but it also forced them to track their man on occasion. When managing a club as big as PSG, simply winning is never enough. Fans expect to see beautiful football. Victories must be earned in a highly attractive style, with a high attacking output. For these reasons, PSG maintains some of the sharpest attackers in the world. As a proponent of positional play, Luis Enrique was tasked with integrating Mbappé into his system. The difficulty is that Mbappé is a fluid attacker, whose ability allows him to participate in all phases, and all areas of attacking play. Possession-based systems require team unity and cohesion, as movements are drilled into players until they come as naturally as breathing. Mbappé's variable movements required positional switches, while being mindful of maintaining balance within the formation. This made Mbappé's reception points highly consequential. Over the past 3 seasons, Mbappé has demonstrated that he is optimally placed within the left attacking half space, within 25 yards of the oppositional goal. It is the transitional phase that provides Mbappé with the ideal conditions to seek placement within the space, gain separation, and finish. In the transitional phase, when the opposition is off balance, disorganized, and running towards their own goal, the Frenchman can navigate the space more effectively. The defensive chaos is ideal for Mbappé, as the transitional phase via a fast break scenario usually means that the opposition is severely off balance, and primed to be carved up. In these situations, Kylian Mbappé is the most lethal attacking threat in the world. To capitalize on the transitional phase, Enrique placed Mbappé as the left wing, and the inside left. This included the defensive phase, in which Mbappé maintained a leftward alignment, in anticipation of the counter-attack. The outside or inside left position against the high block. The left wing position when isolated 1v1 against the high middle block. Since PSG were a predominantly possession-based side, they faced the opposition in a low-block defensive alignment through long phases of the match. Against the low block, Enrique again utilized attacking congregations with numerical superiority by initiating plays from the sidelines. Building up plays from the sidelines, while playing a false nine system, opens up central spaces for multiple players to invade at any moment. Sideline congregations with multiple dribblers once again has the advantage of initiating chaos across the back line. Superiority in football comes in the form of either numerical, when a team outnumbers the opposition at the point of attack, or technical, when one team possesses more skill and talent on the ball. With PSG's technical superiority, multiple markers were required to contain dribbling ball carriers. Regardless if the attack was commenced by the central midfielder who expanded to the wing, the fullback, or the winger, the defensive line would have to shift to the threat. Enrique would then pour as many men forward as possible, overloading the attacking third with viable options. As the defensive line shifted to the threat, two attackers were maintained within central space, in order to occupy the center backs. Teams that were strong enough would apply man-to-man marking across the back line, with double coverage provided by the midfield line, who would slot into gaps. Left-sided attacks were more favorable to Mbappe, due to his predominant right foot, and the angle being completely open to him. When attacks originated from the left, Mbappe operated as a left winger, inside left, or as the striker. From these areas he could make diagonal runs into his attacking corridor in the left attacking half space, cut inside if there was no central resistance, or drop off the line into pockets of space to seek a shooting position. From the right, Enrique could stack the side, while isolating Mbappe on the left. Occasionally, Mbappe would also drift to the right to participate in congregations, however this was far less frequent, as the French talisman was PSG's primary scoring option. In these scenarios, Mbappe operated as a traditional poacher-style striker, who was responsible for locating the most optimal space, receiving the ball, and then finishing in crowded, contested spaces, with minimal touches. One-touch finishing with either foot was essential, in addition to spatial awareness and strength, to battle in highly contested spaces. What we have shown you is that in his final season for PSG, Kylian Mbappe operated within the confines of a precise, team-oriented attacking system. In hindsight, the Frenchman may have been more optimally suited for a more fluid attacking system, in which his movements weren't so restrained. Despite this, he finished the season scoring 35 goals while producing 7 assists over 37 matches. The Frenchman finished with a non-penalty goals rate of 0.72, which qualifies him in the top 5% for all strikers in world football. All the while, he finished in the 96th percentile for progressive carries and successful take-ons. All of this equates to a finely tuned, complete attacker. As he stands at the precipice of a new era, he closes the chapter on the previous one. Mbappe arrives at the White House as an ideal asset for Carlo Ancelotti's attacking plans, and we are extremely excited to see how the relationship between these two will develop. Stay tuned for a complete analysis of how he will line up along the likes of Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo, and Vinicius Jr. But until then, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again soon.